the was launched.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AF24NEWS Talks. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Olabisi Deji, the director here at AF24NEWS. Thank you for joining us today, ma.
Thank you, Wisdom, for having me.
And thank you to everyone for joining us today on this live taping of our podcast. Today, we're starting with something that's been in the news recently about the UK Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch, who, has been in the news recently because of her comments about her Nigerian heritage. Famously, she was born in the UK but grew up in Lagos for about 16 years of her life before she moved to the United Kingdom. And she's now on the political spaces, she's trying or on her way to becoming a prime minister. That's her own aspiration anyway. And she has been in the news for saying she does not identify with Nigeria anymore, and that she hasn't even renewed her passport in 20 plus years. And Nigerians were talking about it, different reactions from different sections of Nigerians. Some Nigerians support her. They're just waiting for their own opportunity to be like her. Some Nigerians think that it is rude and unpatriotic of her for the country of her heritage to be treated in such manner. I want to ask for your own views. That's why we're here. But I want to first specifically ask the question that is on everybody's mind, which is, do you think that Kemi's comments are political, or do you think that those are true reflections of how she feels?
Well, I wouldn't know. It's only Kemi that can actually answer that question herself, whether she's being political or maybe that is her feelings. It is possible that it could be political, but at the same time, I don't also think Kemi has to talk like that to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. After all, even the country that is a place of birth, I'm referring to the United Kingdom, is aware that she was only born in the UK. The country is also aware that she came from Nigeria. The country is even aware that her name is Kemi. Nobody in Britain, no white woman or white man names their child Kemi now. So I don't think she needs to say what she is saying in order to get to any position in the United Kingdom. Besides, she's not going to be the first person to be a prime minister in the United Kingdom that was not born. I'm not sure of that, but I don't think she's the first person that will get to that position. So I don't think she really needs that. Well, could it be that is genuine feelings about Nigeria? It is possible. I want to think that I believe that many of us are just being emotional about what Kemi is saying. If we really analyze what she's been talking about, can we really genuinely, as Nigerians, fault her? For example, the latest that she spoke about was about her experience at the Federal Government College in Shagamu, where she had a secondary school, which she referred to as if she was in prison. Yeah, it doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound good. I agree. And I understand with Nigerians that are a bit sentimental about it. But if we ask ourselves, you go to a typical college in the United Kingdom, is it the same setup? Is it the same setting? Do people go to fetch water? Do students go to fetch water to use? in their secondary school. I also attended a boarding school in Nigeria, for example, and I can attest to the fact that we were going to streams to fetch water when I was in secondary school. And I used to wonder, I was not born in the UK. I never traveled to the UK. But as small as I was, I used to wonder why we had to go through that process for us to get water, to have our bath. You get it? I used to wonder what could be the big deal about water provision, that children like us had to go through that stress. We were going kilometers in the bush, wilderness, to fetch water. As a matter of fact, the tide changed positively for us when one of us was kidnapped. I was directly behind the person that was kidnapped. Do you get it? I was the one that raised the alarm because I saw a bucket. And I'm telling you, I'm talking about, how old was I? 15-year-old child. I was the one that saw a bucket. Unfortunately, the bucket had a name on it. So I knew something was wrong. Then I met somebody that was dumb. The guy was deaf and dumb. So that one was the one also trying to describe to us what happened. And we went back to school. We raised the alarm and everybody came back. You know, they were searching the bush and all of that. Eventually, they found the girl. She was just fortunate because the people that wanted to kill her, they heard noises and they ran away. She was already naked. She had been raped. So I can understand what Kemi is talking about. I also went to a secondary school in Nigeria and all of that. Will I say it's the fault of my secondary school? No. They were also operating based on what was available in the system. So if I was in Kemi's shoes, now in the United Kingdom, having got access to better things, and looking back at my secondary school days, I could talk the way she did, that it was like a prison. So I wouldn't say that she was being political. I don't know. I don't know why Nigerians are making Kemi their problem. For me, the question is, the things she is talking about, are they real? Are they genuine? Are there still secondary schools in Nigeria today that don't have access to potable water? We don't need to deceive ourselves, and we don't need to make Kemi our problem. Kemi isn't our problem. In any case, I'm sure she doesn't even care if we exist or not. And one of our aides already told us that Kemi is not going to be the PR for Nigeria. So, I mean, that's that's the way I see it.
I think the conversation we just had, it kind of reminds me of, another larger sentiment that
Okay.
we may not be talking about as much, which might even be a generational thing as well. Do you think that there's a tendency for people from Kemi Badenoch's generation and the subsequent generations to see to find it challenging to identify with their Nigerian heritage in general, especially when they're in the diaspora? When we have situations of, because she left the country as a 16-year-old, she wasn't an adult, but she was already, like old enough to understand a lot about where she was coming from and where she was. And so it's an informed decision that she has made. And as we said, the cross-section responses from Nigerians or views from Nigerians are polarized in the sense that there are people who believe that her positions on Nigeria are valid. Like you also affirmed some of the statements she made about Nigeria. So do you think it's a generational thing where um, people from Kemi's generation and subsequently see less of the history of Nigeria having proud moments that they can kind of identify with on a national pride level, and that's why we have what we have with her reaction.
Well, I think I don't know if I can state categorically that it's generational, but I think it is personal, and it could be generational in the sense that I think people of my own generation, we are quite patriotic. You get it? Because we witnessed some of the proud moments of Nigeria, if we want to put it like that. But I don't think she ever witnessed any proud moment. And if we want to take it to generational level, and also people that come after her, they may not really understand how great Nigeria was ever at any point in time. And even looking at greatness, it's not even about how great, but it's about what is happening now. I think the frustration of that generation, if it is generational, will stem out of the fact that you look at things working elsewhere and you look at your own country of birth and you can't say the same thing about the space, either the space or the speed or the level at which things are working. And you just begin to ask yourself, remember, not everyone that lives in Nigeria is actually happy that they are in the diaspora. Bear that in mind. A lot of people that are in the diaspora will actually love to be in their country, because whether you like it or not, you can be great, but a country is not going to relegate its own citizens for you. You are ever going to be that second level citizens in another man's country. So people would rather they stayed back in their country where they enjoy some levels of respect and all of that. And maybe out of frustration, this generation, maybe Kemi's generation or subsequent generations after her, are just voicing out what they don't like. Their frustrations about the system, frustrations about, government policies and all of that. So it's possible that it could be generational. People in my generation, we were the suffer generation. We were used to bearing problems, troubles, and keeping it, and we believe that all will be well. We are patriotic and all of that. But honestly speaking, I'm not one of the people that will castigate Kemi for whatever reason. Because if you go deeply into the way she talks, you will find something about her expressing the frustration that the parents faced. You could see it, that it was even that frustration that made the parents to even relocate to the UK. And I'm sure that the parents will have complained and complained. In this last thing that she spoke, she mentioned the fact that her mother is still a lecturer in an institution. She's 65 years old. A doctor. You get it? So I'm sure there are some certain things about the system that were frustrating. We don't even know how the father died. We don't know if issues of medical issues, maybe availability of healthcare and all of that, maybe they contributed to it. So really, there are so many things. We shouldn't just judge things from the surface level. You understand? And it's also possible that she can be using it to relate. We all have this history and story of, I used to be like this. I understand what it was to be like this and to be like this and all of that. For me, Kemi is selling herself. She's just doing a bid in her career, and it's fine.
I think we should open it up to the viewers as well to give us your opinions. Like, did you grow up in Nigeria and you no longer identify as a Nigerian, or you find yourself taking an opposite side, when we have debates about national pride or patriotism? Like, let us know why or why not, like why you have those opinions or why not. And I think it's a very interesting conversation that also makes you think about many other things, about governance, about health, about education. If you go deep into our story, you get
Mm.
a lot that lets you know where the frustration
Be
could be
coming from.
coming from. But we're going into a more optimistic, you know, part of the segment now. Talking on something else that has also been in the news recently, which I learned earlier. They are calling it Tinubu boom
Wow.
when it comes to the economic um, um, rebound of the
Okay.
Nigerian stock market under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu and the current leadership. We had a historic month in July, and August kind of built on that momentum. There was a shortfall in June, but July and August have been like historic numbers. We had MTN become the most capitalized market offering in Nigeria's history, over 10 trillion. We had investors um, get gain about 27.5 trillion in in profit or increase over their initial investment in less than in a 6 month period,
Mm.
the last 6 months. So I want to talk a bit about that. And you know it's not these are not things that just happen on their own, and at the same time it's also happening under a government that is polarizing. Like we've had Nigerians have endured about poverty, inflation, um, even to some degree power crises, um, failing infrastructure, and at the same time we are having sort of this glimmer of a silver lining in the midst of it all. But at the same time, it's not a silver lining that will be experienced by everybody, which is also something we'll discuss in this segment. But I really want to start with how much of this is coming from short-term, like speculation, and how much of it is really coming from structural reform.
Well, let me state that this is good news for us as a country. At least we can talk about for those who have the means to invest in the capital market, they can come out to actually share the good news of their profiting from the system. Is good news. And I don't think that you are asking whether it is short term or maybe like
Is it speculative?
speculative and all of that. I don't think so, because I will recall that since President Bola Tinubu took over, there have been remarkable improvements in the stock exchange markets. I think many people are now getting to know about it, and they are trying to take advantage of what is going on in that market. But basically, too, I also think that what we are witnessing is a product of macroeconomic policies that the government is doing. Their monetary policies, then the macroeconomic environment, they are both contributing to what is going on. Because you can see that initially when the president came and floated the Naira, a lot of there were a lot of shocks everywhere. Then what we witnessed was that the exchange rate was galloping. But if you also notice, we can see some kind of stability in that market in the last, maybe in the last, can we say in the last 1 year? And there are also some policies introduced by the CBN that has further stabilized the exchange rate. You get it? So if you look at that monetary policy and you look at the macroeconomic environment, you could see that things are not just happening on their own. There are factors that are influencing what is going on and what we are seeing. Yes, I tell people that you may not agree totally with President Bola Tinubu, but apparently there are some things that are being done to stabilize the economy. Remember before now, the money market was where people were also making lots of gain. What happened? The monetary policy in the money market helped in the process of trying to fight inflation, increased the returns from money market, which made people to gain a lot. But you see, despite the fact that the CBN retained the interest rate in its last meeting, we can see that interest rate is falling in the money market, which means that that is a natural cause. People are taking money away and they are going into the stock market, the capital market. And you can see that those things, they are economic variables that are just working to get to where we are. So in short, what we can say is that people are having more confidence in government policies, maybe, and also we can see that people are investing more in the economy. And these are the things that are probably working in favor of the capital market as it is now. And I think it's good news, though we may not say that, we may not be able to predict for how long this is going to be, because in every economy, you cannot just, the capital market, it's a volatile market. So it is highly volatile, and you know that it's possible that there could be some shocks here and there. But I think majorly what we can see and what analysts are saying is that Nigeria economy should be able to withstand whatever shocks might come, provided our monetary policies and other macroeconomic environment, continues to be suitable for investment and all of that.
Well, we do have some insight into some of the bigger winners so far and the biggest losers as well. Oando has been doing really well in the stock market until recently really became one of the top decliners in last month's projections. But UAC, BUA, I think Better Glass, which is like a glass making company, they've been doing really well in the stock market. And we also know that Dangote Sugar also experienced a bit of a setback, but companies like MTN year on year have grown, like almost exponentially, so to speak, compared to where they fell to in the previous years, since their capitalization in 2021, we saw some progress and then decline. But now they even have, I saw a report earlier today that they have um, greater revenue than projected for the
Okay.
year. Like their um, profits are surpassing the expectations that they had internally. I'm sure it is not unconnected as well from the fact that they have been allowed to increase tariffs.
Exactly.
So all these things have come together to
Mm.
also stimulate the economy in a way that
Yeah.
helps it be a more, just less than a few months ago, we were hearing whispers about it was so unprofitable to run the business in Nigeria that they don't know if they will pull out, even though it wasn't a serious, consideration. But going from that to hearing that they are beating their projected earnings, you know, tells you that the economic climate is much better now for businesses, and clearing the FX backlog, you know, this floating the naira, and so we have less of that volatility in terms of having two distinct uh, um,
Exchange rate.
exchange rates that two different people are benefiting on depending on who you
Who
know.
you
So it's just a very interesting development. The question I had next is what you have said you cannot tell us already, which is how long can we really expect it to continue this way?
Well, you see, let me just read out. In market capitalization is now 88.4 trillion from 62.6 trillion in December 2024. In last July rather, alone, there was a 16.5% return, and it contributed 50% of year-to-date returns in the stock exchange market, which means that July was the big deal in the market. In fact, what the market gained in July was as good as what it could probably have gained in the year, for a whole year. Okay, now, so the entire market has risen by 35.9%. And in July alone, 22 billion shares were traded. This was an increase from 13 billion traded in June. So it's almost, we are talking about double of what was done in June, done in July alone. Now, you look at all of these things. I'm reading this out for us to know that July was particularly good. Okay? But can we say that August is going to be like that? September is going to be like that? October is going to be like that? November or December is going to be like that? We cannot say. The only thing that we can talk about is the fact that some things in the economy are probably helping what is going on. And as per the shares of MTN and all of that, you have also mentioned it. The increase in tariff went a long way in also helping these companies to run their businesses. Remember, initially we were talking about rise in power, cost of power. We are talking about, because remember the band A, band B and stuff like that, which jacked up power cost to more than whatever percentage. So now that people are paying appropriately for tariffs, I guess these telecoms are doing better. Then let's go back to the banking sector, which are also some of the sector pushing up the stock exchange trading. A lot of people are also having probably they are having confidence in these companies. Remember also that there is a policy that increased the capitalization of banks. So all of these things, they are part of policies that are just, we are not just seeing things. There are things working behind. So if these banks, and there are so many things also working for banks right now, you want to look at the kind of money they make. I ask you, if you do a transaction, from the moment you send 100,000 naira to your bank, from the moment you do that transaction, your money goes down. The cost of transaction, and so many things have been built into the cost of running banks.
The cost of receiving the money.
When you receive the money, your money is deducted. When you transfer somewhere, it is deducted. By the time you even finish, your money that is 100,000 has become probably 95,000. Where is that money going to? Okay, you think it's an exaggeration. Even if it is 99,000, 1,000 has gone out of your money. And it's within the banking system. They are the ones making the money. So there are so many things they are getting. They tell you have to pay stamp duty, you have to pay this, you have to pay that. So these banks are also making a lot of profit. So I want to believe that this will be sustained. But at the same time, I know that the people in the stock market, they are also very smart, the investors. Because when you also see that people are rushing into a thing, for those who are experienced, they probably know that it is the time to relax, to watch, and all of that. For me, I would not advise any new entrant to go invest
based on
all that we are seeing now. And even if you want to enter and invest, I will advise that be cautious. Go through a stockbroker, get analyst. Don't just move in and say because MTN stock is 400 and something. Actually, this is not the right time to buy stocks like that. But the fact that the stock market is doing well and the money market is also going down, it has consistently been going down in the past 3 months. You understand? Today, I think the average return is about 20.16%, whereas on stock, I think the average return is 27 point something percentage or 35 point something. So, I mean, it's good to have a mix of investments, but let me also reiterate the fact that this is good news coming from Nigeria's capital market.
Yeah, it's very good news actually. And like she said, the best financial advice we have for you is to seek more financial advice from experts and the stockbrokers, people who are doing this for a living, who can give you play by play instructions or advice on how to manage your money. And we also want to ask the viewers as well to tell us what you think about the macroeconomic policies that have been enacted in the past couple years, how it has affected you, how you've seen growth in your own portfolio if you are also in the stock market, and just in general how the economic gains in the stock market are reflecting on your own portfolio. And once again, thank you for joining us on today's episode of AF24 News Talks. Again, I'm joined by Dr. Olabisi Dejifolutile, director here. I am Wisdom Dejifolutile, a host of AF24 News Talks, and we hope to see you again next week, same time. Also, subscribe to AF24 News Stories on YouTube and follow us across our social media platforms and our website, where we write daily news updates about everything going on in Nigeria and the world at large. Thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful week.